Good afternoon from a beautiful day in Frankfurt. Today, I will be making my way home with a slight detour. During the time I was recording this, if you've been in the EU in the last 14 days, you cannot enter the US unless you were a US citizen. I am so happy this is gone now. My intentions for this route was I wanted to fly on a 747 again, plain and simple. Seeing as I couldn't enter the US, Mexico City was a good option. I checked in 7 hours early and spent the time in the city. The city center is about 15 minutes away on the S-Bahn. A great way to spend a long layover. Admittedly, there's not a lot to do in Frankfurt, so I spent the time in a coffee shop doing some work. I'd love to hear from you all about some recommendations for Frankfurt. Anyways, one of Lufthansa's main concourses in Terminal 1 is the Z concourse. This was extremely busy as this was one of their main departure banks. And here's our aircraft for today, this iconic Boeing 747-8i. This for the most part is rare as a few were built. The only non-private 8i operators are Lufthansa, Korean Air, and Air China. I personally have so many fond memories of flying on a Thai Airways 747 as a child flying between Canada and Thailand. Boarding soon started, and I combed my way through the sea of passengers. Frankfurt has automated boarding gates, but I've only seen Lufthansa use them. This 747 has 8 first-class seats, a whopping 80 in business, 32 in premium, and 244 in economy, for a total of just 364 seats. Now, Air Canada's 777 high densities have 450. Admittedly, this is not targeted for premium passengers. Anyways, enough of that. Here's our seat for today, on the upper deck. This is Lufthansa's business class seat, found on all their wide bodies but one from the time I'm writing this script. I hope to release a video about that soon. Alright, the seat. Admittedly, not the best in the skies crossing the Atlantic, but it does the job fairly well. The upper deck has a 2-2 layout while the lower deck has a 2-2-2 layout. At the seat, a pillow, duvet, and mattress is waiting. Below, there's a small storage bin with a bottle of water and an amenity bag. I'll get into that a bit later. The IFE swivels out to avoid glare. And on the upper deck window seats, they have these massive storage bins to fill in the gap between the seat and the fuselage. Continuing on, there's a small cutout for a phone and a reading light behind the seat. Under the armrest, there's a tray table, IFE remote, and a small pit that contains the noise-canceling headphones and a USB jack. The side armrest retracts, and there's a decent coat hook available. Under the footrest, there's a small place for placing your shoes. Finally, between the two seats, there are 2 universal power outlets available. A pre-departure drink and menu is handed out before pushback. We pushed back about 30 minutes late due to a no-show passenger, and they had to take off their bag. This is actually fairly common on international flights, I find. As a young child, I was always curious to see what was upstairs on the 747. I've had the privilege of experiencing this for the first time in 2019 between Tokyo and Frankfurt. Although there's an iconic sense of flying up here, it's somewhat restrictive of viewing the engines. This flight runs at 12 hours between Frankfurt and Mexico City, flying over the North Atlantic, then ironically flying over the east coast of the US, then a fairly straight shot to Mexico City. As it's been pointed out a lot, the IFE is pretty dated, and the screens have a ridiculous amount of glare. Luckily, the onboard camera views and the movie selection makes up for all this. The entertainment selection is pretty extensive and is a good standard compared to the competition. I'm personally not a fan of the included noise cancelling headphones as they're on ear. Making myself a bit more comfortable, the seat reclines in an awkward way, but still manages to be comfortable. When I say these storage bins are massive, I truly mean it. Look at all the crap I fit in here. Now, the lavatory. This is extremely similar to the 787, down to the hands-free flush button. The coolest feature, and a first for me, is the seat cover flips down right before it flushes. The lower deck lavatories don't do this. The meal service didn't start for about an hour. The tray table comes out of the armrest. It's sturdy and swivels out, which is great. The service started with a bottle of Erdinger and a small bowl of toasted almonds. The flight attendants came around with a cart of the main entrees. All the courses were served on one tray to reduce the contact time, which was somewhat standard at the time. I had the carpaccio to start, and the salmon for the main. This was actually one of the best tasting meals I've had on all my flights during this trip. Unfortunately, the portions were fairly small. The creme brulee ice cream for dessert tasted really good too. After the meal, a chocolate bar or a stick was handed out. The amenity bag is a reusable bag that features several different iconic sites around the world. Mine was a Burj Al Arab in Dubai. Without unraveling the whole thing, it contains socks, toothbrush, toothpaste, and hand moisturizing cream. Personally, I prefer the amenity kit, as I repurpose the little bags for traveling or give them out to friends. Before passing out, declaration forms are handed out. This is the bed fully laid out. It is fairly narrow, but I personally had a comfortable rest. I only passed out for a couple hours as it was technically still midday. I took some time to explore the plane. There's a galley on the upper deck, and a little elevator is used to bring the galley carts up. This is so you don't have two people lugging them up the stairs. Although, this breaks sometimes, and that has to be done. What was a bit of a letdown was there was no mid-flight snacks available, as they ran out. The post-marathon hunger was really kicking in good. About an hour later, the pre-landing meal was served. It was a ricotta and vegetable ravioli, and it was also very good.
Damas y caballeros, en este momento les informamos cómo será nuestro aterrizaje en México al llegar a la puerta de...
Lots of reviewers have made videos about Lufthansa's business class seat and their 747. Lots of points have been made comparing the seat to the competition. Yes, it's very dated, but I find myself enjoying the journey every time I fly Lufthansa long haul. With the mattress included, it admittedly makes for a narrow but comfortable rest. The food options, despite the portions, have been consistently good, and the service is industry leading. Flying the 747 nowadays is truly a privilege, and I never get tired of flying on this iconic aircraft. What truly makes this trip so special is the aircraft itself and not so much the seat. Honestly, it's mostly nostalgia at this point. What was a perfect cap to this experience was this amazing arrival in the Mexico City. Mexico City is at high altitude, so it's really cool flying around the house-lined hills and mountains of the city.
Would like to say goodbye to you now here in Mexico City. Thank you for being our guests. Taking care of you is always our pleasure, and we are looking forward to seeing you again soon.
I really hope you've enjoyed this series of the trip reports from Europe and the Middle East. There's still so much in my catalog, and I can't wait to share it with you all. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next video.